Okey-dokey. So here we go. It's a special Sunday episode because this has not been done before. So hello everyone, welcome to another episode on the Joshua Files podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope everybody's having a great Father's Day, wherever you are, spending your time with your dad or your grandparents that has a grandfather, vice versa, uncle that has a male figure. Just basic as a male, a special occasion, I could say for myself. I had a good day just spending my time with my grandfather. Has a massive family gathering, but we're not really supposed to do that, but fuck it, right? Today, this is a very special interview because it was supposed to be done yesterday. Unfortunately, stuff happened. It's cool, I'm a good guy. I'm more than happy to reschedule things. It's not a problem. But today's special episode is with Mr. James Shushter. He is a very, very talented vocalist. He is in 3 bands, and I will track the list down of what they are. They are from Ineffable, Demise, Delusional Parasitosis, and my mind just gone blank on the last one. Oh, Jesus.
Dicks.
Fuck, man. But yeah, no, it's great to have you, James. How you been doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good, man.
Just, like crazy, trying to write and record as much as possible.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. Everybody at this difficult situation is trying to keep themselves occupied much as possible. When it comes to like writing music perspective or taking hobbies that they haven't done before, spending a lot of time on their own, trying to, just look after yourself much as possible. Spending time with the family, it's always a good thing to do. But there's multiple options of what people can do, and in some degree, it's always a good thing to take like a long break just to recharge your batteries. Now, officially, I'm off for a week from work, and I've been quite exhausted for the past few weeks. It's been a nightmare where I've been working. But I don't know what it's been like with you being like a UPS driver. Has it been quite difficult, or has it been like it's not much you can do with the procedures of what's been happening lately?
Yeah, it's insane. The package deliveries have been through the roof. Like it's Christmas right now.
Yeah,
and they've having to bring in like rental trucks because they don't have enough UPS trucks. It's like 12 hours every day. It's been fucking madness.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, and especially when I've still got like a parcel waiting from Indie Merge, and that hasn't arrived yet. I've got like another 2 parcels that are on their way. So it's like I can understand the delivery perspective because there's a lot of people when they're at home, they will try their best to online order stuff from like shopping retail websites or maybe music websites or just anything in general, just to try and do delivery makes it easier for them. But when it comes to like yourself as a UPS deliverer, it's difficult because it takes so much time. Like you said to me yesterday that you've done a 12-hour shift, and it's like it's unreal. It's unreal for people like us that has to work so many hours and have to deal with what we have to do from day to day. Obviously, there are some procedures of what each category of job description it is. Like I'm working retail, so I'm getting more exposed by facing to people and trying to deal with the situation in first hand, where you, in the other hand, it's not easier, but it's still a difficult task where you have to follow certain procedures and you have to stick to it as well. So nobody is in the clean slate. Nobody is having an easy job. at the moment because everyone's in the tough spot as it is.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about, though. Like, each package has been to multiple states, sometimes different countries, been touched by who knows how many people. And I have like probably 300 or more packages in my truck every day. It's like loaded, the whole truck is just loaded.
That is
And
absolute madness.
Sanitizing, wearing masks, and making sure I'm safe, trying not to contact people. They tell you to do that, you know. But I'm just trying to take precautions because I take it pretty seriously, you know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely can see that, and it's a big circumstances, a big situation for like ourselves because we take it with serious consideration, and there are people out there, not saying that they don't give a shit, but there are some people that have been irresponsible, and I wouldn't say people that delivering packages or shipping packages is the irresponsible ones, but there are people out there that are more irresponsible and they're trying to cause more issues for the people that are taking this seriously.
Yeah, this is good.
Which is unfortunate. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and I don't know what it's like in the States. I mean, I don't want to go to it too far with the political status because, you know, it's really a really tough time. I got asked yesterday, try not to speak political, and I did that. But it depends how open you are with it. If you are okay to discuss about it, if you're not, it's completely cool. We'll just try and minimize it as much as possible. But I'm sure down in the States, it's more difficult at the moment because with some reports that's been happening at the moment, there's been more hits of spikes coming through from certain states to states, and it's scary to think about it after since March, I believe it all started, that in a way we was thinking it's not going to go away until summer period, and now summer's here, it's going to get much worse. I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm thinking it's not going to be ending anytime soon. Like, I mean, it'd be nice if it would, but I don't think it's happening at all. Probably, you know,
no, absolutely.
That way, but you know, and I do see a lot of people like taking it pretty seriously. Like, you know, politics aside, like people are wearing their masks and they're doing what they're supposed to do. You know, there's gatherings and stuff, but
absolutely.
And I saw that Michigan and New York, I think, are the only ones on track to reduce the amount of cases.
Okay.
So, and yeah, I think it's because they've been so strict about it. People don't like it. I don't really like it, but you know, but at least it's working. You know, other places are either staying even or spiking a bit. But yeah, it's a scary time, man. It's pretty nuts. Like, it's all you can do, really. Just listen to what you're, listen to what you're told to do, and for the best, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with you with that. When we got told we have to stick to these protocols and procedures, most of us actually did stick to it, you know, and most people were actually being really serious about it. It's just there are some people out there that are not actually sticking to it. There are, big example, there are always massive gatherings outside of my community garden, and it's just fucking ridiculous, you know, that there are some people out there that are just irresponsible, and no matter how many times people get told to just try their best to avoid it as much as possible with the social distancing and the massive gatherings, there's just going to be a group of people that's just going to be like, why would it matter? It's not going to affect me, you know, it won't matter. But on the flip side, they don't understand the position that they're not taking they're not having any responsibility in their life. Like, there are some people that are basically unemployed and they're just getting the tax money from like the people who work, like myself in this country, main example. from housing benefits. So it's fucking stupid. And people like myself, and along with other 3-4 people that live in this area that are actually working, we're putting our lives on the line, and we're actually taking the time to actually do what we've been told to do and get paid for it as well, which is a bit shit. But at the same time, it's really, really stupid that I have to come here or live here with people that don't take this shit much seriously at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely see that in the States, it's obviously there are some worse circumstances at the moment, and it's really, really unfortunate that 2020 all seems to be
pretty shit.
No, I agree. It's been absolute shit, and without trying to lay onto it too much, it's 2020 is showing people's true colors when it comes to racial situation, when it comes to the political situation, especially with this COVID situation. People are showing their true colors. It's fucking annoying and really unfortunate that we would be friends with specific people that disagree with like the Black Lives Matter protestings and stuff like that. You know, I'm up for people to have their opinion, but I make the choices of who I'm friends with and who I want to respect. You know, and it's obviously a bit more complex over down the States compared to where we are. Like we get protesters here for sure, but in America, I've seen stuff on Twitter, I've seen stuff on Instagram that it's still going on day after day after day, which is a big step, you know, because this shit is really serious. But 2020 is a very, very unfortunate year for all of us.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate.
Where were you?
But yeah, definitely unfortunate. But we can just move aside from that now, because I think political wise it's just bullshit, and you know, we're not here to really talk about politics. We could do, but it won't be interesting for most people.
I think people get back to shows, you know, when this is all kind of chilled out. So that's a plus. You know, I think people are going to be more appreciative, more enthusiastic about shows generally, or anything. You know, there's a lot of movies and shit. You know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But shows, I think, will be pretty fucking cool when we get back. You know, when it's safe to be there.
Man.
No, not wearing masks, fucking drinking beers and hanging out and shit. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what everyone wants to do right now. And I'm up for that shit as well. Like, I'm up to see my good friends and everything again, but it's like I still got to wait, even though it's been quite tedious. But yeah, like as I mentioned in the early of this podcast, you are a vocalist, and it's a fucking awesome thing as well, because you do decent stuff with being a vocalist with 3 bands. In my honest opinion, you know. So my first question, pretty much, and this is actually it's the first question, and I'm quite surprised. How did you actually become a vocalist?
It's kind of funny, I guess. Like, you know, I was 15 or 15, and my friend Shane, who I grew up with, you know, since like 4th grade or whatever. Like, his dad was a drummer in a country band, and so his dad started showing him drums, you know, so he wanted to play drums in a band, but yet, like, I was his only, you know, real good friend that hung out all the time, and I didn't have any musical talent at all. So he's like, Metallica all the time, and he's like, oh, you know, you sing or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I might be able to do that. Trying to yell Metallica stuff, you know.
Yeah.
That's always something. We stayed in the band for a long time through high school and stuff, and I figured out what to do through that, you know. I didn't even have a proper PA or anything. I just like scream into a guitar amp, like Like, so that's not him. But I don't know. From there, you know, I figured out, you know, the techniques I wanted to do. At first, I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I'd write the stupidest fucking lyrics and sounded shitty as hell. But
no, that's
yeah,
cool, man.
at the time, you know, I figured it out. I actually ended up in a band with Chris Revel. He recorded the Scaphism split. He played bass on it.
Yeah.
He was good friends with the guys, and he introduced me to Brian Forg, who like gave me some solid tips. Like, he was a cool fucking dude. I'm still friends with him, real close, you know. He kind of guided me at first as far as like gutturals and shit, and kind of make more sense to me. And like, I respected him because, I mean, Brian's a fucking maniac, man. He's so good. I just would listen to anything he said. He helped me a lot along the way, like record some of the stuff I've done, and you know, tell me if something sucked. I fucking shit.
Hey, it's to give you that encouragement, you know, to be like, hey, you suck. You can do better than that, you know.
If you know anybody that knows Brian, like, he's a straight up guy. Like, he'll tell you like it is, and he doesn't fuck around. Fucks, man.
It's like tough love, basically.
Dude, he's fucking slow, man.
That's cool, man. That's really good. But when you was a kid, and before you actually started becoming focused, as you was a kid, what was the background of your music life? What actually played that made you want to think, you know, music is going to be part of my life? What was like your dad, your parents' music that brought the influence to be like, music is going to be part of my life for a long, long time?
You know, really, it wasn't like a sort of upbringing thing. Like, my parents, like, I don't know, they just kind of threw the fucking radio on or whatever. But I know my dad used to be a metalhead. He used to go to like Iron Maiden shows and stuff. But I didn't know that until way later. Like, he didn't really like play it around me or anything. It was mostly just, you know, me and Shane hanging out listening to Metallica and Slayer and shit. Like, you know, all that school stuff. Like, we picked up some Cannibal Corpse at the CD store, and you know, just not knowing shit about music, picked up some good CDs on the off chance, you know, and found out. At first, it was just kind of like we were just goofing around, having fun. It didn't. I don't think any of us really got real too serious about it until we started finding more stuff that interested us, you know, and found more like, you know, those legendary albums that you're like fucking raised on, you know, that you can't do over and over again. I ride my bike around, listen to the same album over and over again. License. Stuff sowed the seeds, you know, and kind of to where I knew there was always something more aggressive or crazy or fast out there, and that's what I was always trying to find.
Yeah,
you know, I looked at like terrible shit, you know, at the time, like, being a kid and just listening to whatever you can find. There was something heavier, something faster, crazier, like, and I always, that was what I was trying to find and trying to do, and that's really never changed.
No, I mean, as for me as a kid, I obviously first at times discovered some bands on YouTube, and some of it was on video games as well. That actually was like, oh shit, this band actually plays on this specific song on this specific video game. That was quite cool. You know, it kind of added a little bit of like, that was a part of my memory as well. But when I actually got stuff into the heavy stuff, that was like when I was a college kid, 16 to 17 years old. The first band I actually heard was Cow Decapitation, and it was back. But that's back.
I was wondering what he was doing a lot of times, you know, like, because he does so much crazy shit.
He does. Absolutely. He's fucking crazy with his vocals. But yeah, the first album I heard from Cow Decapitation was Humanure. So it was the most controversial album out from their discovery by any means. That was the first album I thought, wow, that was fucking cool. Then I discovered the Harvest Floor, then Monolith and Humanity when they came to play in UK back in 2013. And I fell in love with them ever since, but then I started to listen to a bit more of like death metal after discovered Cow Decapitation. Cannibal Corpse was on part of that list. Death was part of that list. There's Morbid Angel as well. So there is some stuff like it will come into your like music life once you find these related bands that has that same sound, that same mixture, and the same intents of like what you said, what's more heavier and what you're searching for.
Yeah, seems like you kind of stumble across the old school stuff first,
Yeah.
Obituary and Cannibal Corpse and DSI. It's just the more accessible kind of when you're younger and, I'm just going to grab some whatever in the death metal, you find. But that's good, though. It's a good first step, I think.
It is. And the first...
And you're like, what I'm like.
I know that brutal death metal has been part of my life since I think I was about 23, and it was not just devourment that I heard, it was also like ingested. Malignancy, there was like stuff like that actually came into it. Like obviously Malignancy is death metal, but it was not that brutal death metal, but obviously ingested was part of it. There's, there are quite a few bands I can see, a couple of my flags that is kind of like related, but this is like a new generation of brutal death metal era. But the old school brutal death metal before, the new wave came into play, it was actually hitting me, and I thought that's actually what I want to listen to. It was much heavier, much aggression, much hard, then the production was like, it didn't matter if it was raw or if it was just like so crisp that I thought it was so perfect. It actually matched my emotions of frustration that I actually wanted for so many years. It actually grew in me. So I'm not too sure how that actually came into play. Was it just more of that discovery of the old school death metal, like you mentioned, then it actually came into it and then you started to fall in love with it, or how did it actually happen?
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, Disgorge didn't even come around until like the end of the 90s. So like right around then, that's when I was in like starting high school, in 2000 and all that stuff. Like, so that's still pretty new then. So all the real was kind of old school. And I hadn't even heard of those bands yet, But I remember I heard Guttural Secrete for the first time, and I was like, holy shit, this is what I've been looking for the whole time. Like, I've been listening to old school death metal, and, quite a lot of it, but it's really not up my alley as much as Brutal Death. But that wasn't even, at the time, that wasn't even really a thing so much, not a popular, known thing. So once I found it was fucking game over for me, I was like, give me more of this. I found Orchid, Gut Rat, and all these killer fucking bands, Brodequin, like, that was, once I figured that out, I was sailing on my way.
Yeah.
That I was looking for,
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I thought, that's it, it's going to stay with me. I'm not going to go anywhere at all. And I'm glad it actually stayed. But I know it's a difficult situation when those bands we both been mentioning, they're all subsidized as underground labels, like labeled as underground bands. And it's very rare for some bands to actually get recognition and actually big attention for the mainstream population, for like music fans in general. So with this podcast, as I mentioned many episodes now, that this podcast is always about supporting the bands as underground scenery and actually give them recognition. It's like the bands that we both listen to, whether it's the same ones or something maybe new from one to each other, it's like we have that common knowledge to say that's underground and it's really fucking brutal and it's actually really good stuff. And there's one interview I had that actually mentioned it pretty well, was Matt from Cranium. And he said it was basically, it's all like hidden gems. When the label companies want to find that specific band, they're going to have to search deep to find that right band to actually say, that's the gem that I want to take from the underground scenery. You know, it's a very common but also tough situation for bands that actually needs that attention, especially if they want that big rising step from the mainstream media. Now, we both know mainstream media is just like, it's full of like tedious and mediocre music, but I rather just like support the underground scenery bands as much as possible and just actually stay in that area instead of just hoping they will go to the mainstream media. I know there are bands like Disentomb, Visceral Disgorge that actually gone to like the ranking of like the top 100 ranking from the mainstream media, if I'm not mistaken. And it was like, that's actually a big step for those specific bands.
The good thing about that though is that they didn't really compromise to do that. You know, they were just doing what they were doing. Like, they didn't change their sound.
No.
I do admire that a lot. Like, and you know, going back to when I was a kid in high school, I used to check out the liner notes on the CDs, like everything I could fucking read. Like, this guy was a guest vocalist, or they appear courtesy of this label, and yada yada. All the people they would thank, or the bands they would thank, I'd go and look up every one of those bands. Like, as a kid, I was like eager and hungry to find more stuff. You know, I knew it was out there, but I didn't know how to find it.
Yeah.
You know, like you're saying, like a lot of these bands are on underground labels, but as soon as you find one, what I always do is I follow that label. Like, I'll follow everything. You know, there's multiple labels that I really follow and admire, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, you mentioned Ingested, and they asked me to do guest vocals on one of their songs.
Nice.
I love Ingested, you know, like their early stuff is awesome. And I agreed to do it. The main reason I agreed to do it was because I knew that they had a huge reach and a huge base.
Yeah.
And that a lot of people that want to find death metal will find them before they'd find anything else.
Yeah.
You know, that they listen to or I listen to. So they would find them, you know, and even if they hear that small part that I did and they're like, oh wow, that's different, you know, that's crazy. And they, just like going back to when I was a kid, if they do the same thing, they look through the liner notes and say, oh, that's that guy. He was here, and here's the label he's on, and, you know, here's all the people that they thanked in the CD, and they're going to find all those bands and all those labels. Like, they're going to open a rabbit hole for them. And I feel like that's really important because, like, you know, younger kids, they're not stupid. You know, they know, just like me or, you know, or you or anybody, they know what they want to hear, but they most of the time don't know how to find it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's important to guide them. If they want to find, you know, the end of the damn rabbit hole, like, lead them to it. Like,
yeah. No, I mean, this is a good platform. Like, as you mentioned, there's always a good opportunity for people to read the booklets and actually read, like, the mentions, the thank yous, and the supporting categories of the bands and the fans, as you just mentioned. So it's always a good option, but this option is also for, as I do, something like I leave the links in the description for like Bandcamps or like the actual social media accounts that people can just click through and be like, this band, I'll give this band a listen, or I'll go through Bandcamp or Big Cartel merchandise and stuff. I'll buy that merch. I'll listen to this album on digital media platform, instead of like going to stuff like Spotify with the digital streaming media that is like not giving the bands the income that the bands need to provide much more support and more attention in a better way. The weirdest thing is when it comes to Spotify, in my opinion, there's these few counts. It's a bit stupid because you can see, yes, there are, there's about 150,000 people listen to this specific track, but how many people in that 150,000 actually bought the album instead of like doing this part where they actually listen to a stream digital media streaming? That's shit I just don't understand. And in the both ways that we're both into like the old school ways where we collect music, we actually support the bands in a good way, you know, and I'm sure there are people out there that do actually still support the bands like in any means necessary. But I think digital media streaming has become a big killer for bands that actually want to, in a way, get more recognition. And it's a bit common to actually for me to say that because that's actually an opportunity for bands to actually put their music on there. I mean, that's the case, but it's still like you have to follow specific procedures on Spotify to actually put your music on there. And sometimes it doesn't work. So you have to go on Bandcamp, where people don't know what Bandcamp is because it's a small thing compared to Spotify, which is a big corporation stuff. So that's the first reason. James is just cut off, which I don't know why. Maybe his battery just died. Oh dear. Just give me a moment, guys. So basically on that topic, I was just mentioning that every time I put something on Spotify, mentioned on this podcast, people should actually go to Bandcamp because it's more profitable. It actually gives people more income support for the bands that need that extra boost to actually say we're going to provide them income by supporting them the best way as possible. And we are back. Apologies for anybody that has saw that just previous cutout. It was technical difficulties, and we'll leave it to technical difficulties. That was interesting, but it's nobody's fault. It's all good. So we'll move on to the next topic because I can't remember what I spoke about. It was more of just make sure people just support the band as much as possible on Bandcamp and purchasing physical merchandise when they come to shows. That's always the best thing to do instead of just rely on big streaming corporation platforms. So as I mentioned earlier on the podcast, you are in 3 bands, James, all in vocals. How did that actually happen with being in those 3 bands?
Actually, me and Chris from Delusional Parasitosis, we had that band planned a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like going back to when Chris started first getting real serious with guitar. He was writing all this crazy shit. And I hadn't heard anything like that around where we were, you know. We're in like small towns in Michigan, you know, so everyone's trying to play like Slipknot and he's playing this fucking crazy shit that sounds like DP, you know. And I'm like, well, we got to start a band, and we came up with the name. We couldn't find a drummer for forever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just kind of working on stuff in the background when I joined 80,000 Dead. You know, we were doing a lot of stuff. But the whole time we were working on stuff, and we, you know, we got going with a smaller label, and we eventually found Alex in 2013, and he just right away killed it. Like, we're like, oh, we got these songs, and a couple days later, he's like, oh, here's all the songs with drums, and the album fell together really quickly. But yeah, a lot of people really like that stuff. It's just that happened really fast, I think.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, and you know, in Ineffable Demise, that's the guitarist from Scatterorgy. He's the mastermind in that whole thing. he was writing an album by himself, and I had happened to stumble across it and hear it, and I'm like, dude, man, like, you know, let me help, let me do something, let me get in on this, because it was so fucking good. Like, and you know, that turned out pretty solid. But yeah, the Scattergy thing was a really cool fucking thing too. Like,
it was
at the time, you know, they just were like, oh, you know, we don't have any vocals for this. You want to do it? And I'm like, yeah, dude, sweet. The album was so sick, I couldn't fucking not do it. Like, so I went to Brian's house and, you know, we recorded it. And like I said, he'd be like, oh, that sucks, redo that shit. Kind of through the process, but it turned out really good. And yeah, I met the Toms through both of it. But yeah, Tom's an Ineffable, the guitarist, and man, you know, we're starting to write. The second album's actually entirely done. Like, the guitar and all the structuring is completely done. Even the drums are like programmed by Tom, and so Alex from Delusional is going to be playing on the next album. He's just, you know, kind of learning that and writing around it, and he has studio time booked, but all that got fucked by Corona, you know, so that's getting delayed. You can't do much about that.
No.
But it's gonna be fucking crazy, man. That album is insane. I can't stop listening to it. So that one's coming eventually, whenever we can manage to get the kinks worked out with everything, you know, because like I said, Alex, like, he probably can't get into a studio right now. He's in Germany, you know. I don't know how it is over there, but I imagine it's probably not on the top list of priorities of things to be open, you know, the recording studio.
Well, from what I've seen from the reports, Germany's not that bad, but they're trying to stick to the protocols as much as possible before they can actually go a bit lower with the risk health line of the protocols. I think in Germany it was still like a level 4, and you have to get up to maybe like a level 2 before anything is like not a problem. But when everything was hitting the fan, like when shit hit the fan, Germany was completely quiet, like nothing really happened over there. And then all of a sudden, earlier this month, they started to have that spike, and then now it's more of a question: is it actually going to be more of a spike over there now compared to what they did earlier this year? Don't know. Like, they're not too bad compared to like the UK, where the UK was a bit shit, to be honest with you. But obviously that's two different countries and two different governments and two different type of system, how things should be operated. But yeah, I hope he's doing okay, and I hope that he is safe. And I hope everybody that in the specific countries are staying safe as much as possible. They're not actually going to want to risk their health by going to a studio that is possibly closed and not going to be open until whenever. Let's say like next year, for example, you know. But it's all good. All goodness will come in time. It's just unfortunate that this shit has had just hit the fan to all of us, you know. Not just like writing music perspective, but like doing shows live and wanting to do like European shows or going to festivals or just basically traveling as well. That adds a big issue as well. Like, there was a news report stated that it was funny actually, that the flights to go to Spain is going to happen probably next month, which is a bit weird and it's a bit too soon. But when they come back from Spain, they have to self-isolate for 2 weeks, which is just, what's the point of opening the air flights if you are going to say you're going to have to self-isolate when coming back from one of the countries
it's safe,
likely dangerous?
It's safe, but it's not safe. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And our country is much worse as it is compared to Europe. Like, the reason I'm saying that is Cyprus the Cyprus government stated that for traveling purposes, when everything comes back to normal or some sort of normal, all the European countries, America and everything is able to go to Cyprus apart from the UK, because it's too dangerous for the UK folks to go to Cyprus and infect everybody, which it really annoys me, but I can understand why they said that, because in the grand scheme of things, most of the country in Europe is actually settling it very well compared to us, where we're still getting death counts from day after day after day. Whether it's a small count or a big count, you know, it's still going, and like we're operating stuff too early, and we are actually, in my opinion, I'm worried that we're going to have a second spike or a second wave, and that's going to come very soon and later.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much inevitable, honestly. Like, especially if people aren't, you know, oh, everything's fine, you know. If they're being that way, it's inevitable, you know.
It is inevitable. No, I agree. It is inevitable, and the thing is,
I don't hope for anything like that, but you know, it is what it is. If people don't want to do what they're told, as far as scientists and medical professionals are telling them, what are you to do? You know, really.
No, exactly. I mean, I have seen people.
You can't force anybody to do anything.
No.
You know?
I mean, as we mentioned earlier on the podcast, that obviously people are doing, as I told, they are having like their face masks covered and they're wearing gloves, like to protect their hands just in case. Public transport, for example, you have to wear a mask in the public bus and trains, otherwise you get a fine, and that kind of makes sense. At the time, before everything was starting to ease down with the lockdown, if there was any massive gatherings, there would be a massive fine for the people that are causing a massive gathering. You know, it's just stuff like that that should still be under lockdown protocols to this day, but it's still not. But for some reason, that seems to have disappeared.
In Michigan, the grocery stores, at any grocery store you go into, there's a sign on the door that says it's, you know, government mandated, you have to wear a mask to enter here, and they'll kick you out. You know, I've seen them kick people out that don't want to wear a mask. So I mean, it seems a little silly to a lot of people that don't want to do all that, but it is what it is, you know, and it's working.
Yeah,
like I said, the numbers are down here, and you know, it's not much to ask, honestly. Like, put a thing on your face, that's it, that's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
Oh, you're asking me to wear a small chain around your ankle or something.
Yeah, it is shit, but like you said, it is inevitable, and we can still do better than making it worse. It's all in due time, especially from music perspective, and for bands to get back to normal and do what they want to do. For fans that actually want to go to shows, it will come, but it's a question of when.
I think it's a matter of patience. You know, it's a matter of patience too. Like, you just have to be patient. It sucks that, like, basically we're forced to take a year off. You know, that's kind of how it is looking. But, you know, I'll take a year off and enjoy shows for the foreseeable future and enjoy music for the foreseeable future, as opposed to dying for one fucking show. You know, like,
yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of people are, you know, I'm an essential worker, so I have to work every day, and it's quite a task, you know. But like, I honestly, I wish I could stay home and write and stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are getting to, is what I was gonna say. You know, a lot of people are getting to stay home and write, and they're probably writing fucking masterpieces right now because they have that time to concentrate and focus and think and really put their 100% into it. And that's pretty fucking cool, man. There's a lot of good albums that I'm already hearing that are coming out this year. Yeah. And I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more, you know?
Yeah, I hope for the same as well. Definitely.
Yeah. And like I said, I have stuff to work on that, you know, I'll get to and we'll get to. But I'm hoping those are good, you know, and there's a lot of other bands, a lot of other musicians out there doing stuff right now. that like, even if they're not playing shows and they're not active and right up in your face, like they're doing something right now.
Yeah.
I know they're just sitting on their ass, you know. So I expect probably an explosion of good music to be coming out.
Yeah,
so that's the good
well.
thing. Just be patient about and just relax and lay back and just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think by next year, man, we're gonna have like a fucking crazy, like legendary year of music.
And
that's what I hope for.
And yeah, I do agree. I hope so as well. And it's probably a good idea for bands to actually get attention from like label companies as well to be signed. It would be actually a good opportunity if any band has actually got anything coming out next year. That's probably going to be the good time for label companies to be like, oh shit, they actually wrote that from last year. That's fucking badass. You know? In that format.
You know, like the focus is shifting too. Like the focus is shifting from like people like, oh, all the attention's going to the live shows, but like now people are like all the streaming music and the online stuff, and that's what people are doing now, you know. Like they're ordering a lot of packages now, you know, because everyone's at home. But they're also on YouTube more because they're home now. They're also on streaming services now. They listen to their CDs and their fucking records, and they're kind of going in that direction. So even from a label perspective, they're probably going to be looking more towards that if that's the new normal. You know, nobody knows what the new normal is going to be. If they go back or if it's going to stay like this shit. But either way, you kind of got to be flexible.
You have
to see what happens, you know.
Yeah.
But right now, everybody's at home. So what do you do when you're at home? You know, you're not going to shows. You're not going to this and that, which fucking sucks. But it puts the market in a whole new arena, you know, in a whole new place. Like, I'm sure YouTube is fucking spiking right now, and Bandcamp and Spotify and all that shit. Like, people are probably flocking to that shit right now, I would imagine.
And the thing is with it's true. I do agree. Like before we had this cutoff, we actually mentioned about this whole digital media platform. That was the thing we was discussing, and that I agree. There's probably a big spike on companies like Bandcamp and Spotify actually doing for digital media streaming platforms, because it's about trying to listen to the band as much as possible. I mean, YouTube has got their same platform as well, but it's a bit different compared to like Spotify and Bandcamp. But Bandcamp is a big one because, like I mentioned when you was cut off, is bands that get the contribution for the money, it's going straight to them more for the percentage compared to Spotify, where they're getting nothing out of it basically. And it's a bit unfortunate, but very, very low, like peanuts basically. And with Bandcamp, they do the once every month policy where they actually done it really, really well. And I really am surprised how Bandcamp has actually done it. They done it 2 days ago now, I think. For every month, once for one 24-hour system, they allow people to buy any digital media, any merchandise on Bandcamp. All that money goes straight to the band, 100% donation. Sometimes they do it straight for like the Black Lives Matter community. They've done it for the bands. So for a company like Bandcamp to do something like that, it's an absolute blessing that we actually got something like that compared to have to rely on the content being on Spotify, you know. Say that again, sorry. You want to say that again? Because I didn't hear you very well.
Oh, I said, yeah, you know, a company like that doesn't have to do, they don't have to do that. You know, they don't have to go out of their way to do that, but it's cool that they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a bit unbelievable. Just pause, and I thought you asked a question. I'm like,
what? I was just agreeing with you. And I was just saying that it's better than Spotify because there's a little tab on the contribution tip. That's still going to be the same thing where if you contribute like $10 to like I don't know, ingested. If you're from the States, on Spotify, Spotify gives it ingested, I think it's $6 or $7 compared to the whole 100% donation contribution. So Spotify is not really actually doing a good thing at all. They're actually just taking the money regardless. It's kind of like a tax scheme, and it's bullshit.
They're like taking half the money from the CD, pretty much. You know, like you sell one CD and they're taking half.
Yeah,
that's. I always like on Bandcamp though, when I buy stuff, you know, say name your price, or it'll be $1 or $3. I'll always pay more, you know, because you get all that as an artist. I know that for a fact, you know, that happens. So I like to do that. You know, I'm not gonna pay like 50 cents or $1 for something. It's like, come on, dude, like, you know, make it worth their while to even give it to you, you know. I always put in a little extra, you know, because it's even if it's a little, it's still something, you know, something more.
Yeah, it's about supporting the band as much as possible, because as mentioned earlier on the podcast, it's about they get that money to get more opportunity to make more music, more merchandise designs, more touring, and it does expand, but it depends on how people are going to contribute. Especially like you mentioned, the name your price scheme. It's a little bit tricky, that one. I mean, I'm not a fan of it. I think all bands should just do a specific price and just keep it, instead of just doing like
I think it's a way for them to give you the opportunity to have it for you know, for whatever you're able to pay. And that's cool. I admire that, you know. Well, if it's a full CD, I'll pay $10. You know what I mean? Like whatever the going rate would be. But, you know, there's some people that can't afford that, but would really like that album, you know, and like let them pay what they can. And I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. Yeah. I'm not digressing it. I think it is a good idea still. And sometimes if you pay like a $10 shirt, you normally get like the free download of the digital album in full as well. So that's an extra benefit from purchasing stuff on Bandcamp compared to Spotify or whatever. So it's just mentioned is a great platform, Bandcamp, and we're both glad that this is a good opportunity for bands to get more money and just actually try and spread more awareness or spread the music out much more frequently as possible by purchasing like the full physical copy, and then you get a digital copy for free. That's extra benefits, and it's actually really, really badass. We've got something like that compared to.
I had like an iPod Touch, you know, that I used to just when I buy my CDs, I'd you know, put it on there in iTunes, and I had it sitting on the counter, and it fell in the trash, and it went out with the trash, so my iPod's in the dump right now. So I started using Bandcamp, you know, because I'm like, oh, well, I can hook it to my Bluetooth in my car or on my headphones and shit. So I just kind of started getting into that. But man, it's fucking cool though, you know. You buy the album, like even once I've already bought the CD, it's like, man, I don't give a fuck. I'll buy it again. Like that's cool. If it's a band I really like and support, like whatever, man. Like, but so I just been collecting stuff on there and jamming that on my way to work and on my way back and in my truck and shit. So, but if it's a band I support, you know, I'll go out of my way for them. You know, that's how I look at it. There's not a lot of bands that I really like, you know, am eager to go full in on, you know, like, I mean, there's a ton of bands out there and there's a lot of bands that I like, but you know, I like to be selective about the bands I'm like super into, you know, but I know who they are, and like, I feel like they know that I know who they are. Like, man, I've got messages from Perverse Dependents like a few times, like, because I would buy so much of their shit. Like, I got their poster, like, I got that from the artist at Vegas Death Fest.
Nice.
Like, it was the actual print. He signed it and everything.
That's cool.
Fucking cool, man. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. Very, very cool. So aside from like Bandcamp and how people are able to respond by contributing much as possible, obviously the live music events is very tricky this year because obviously shows are cancelled and festivals are cancelled. Whether it's been cancelled or rescheduled delay of the year or maybe till next year, we don't know. Depends on what it is and how late it is. There are been some stuff posted on social media or on online news, like on articles, stating that there are some procedures. If shows actually come back, there has to be some procedures until everything gets back to normal, which it's going to be fucking annoying if it happens. So if you're not aware, I will demonstrate it to you. So obviously at the moment, there's an article going through stated that every fan that attends to the show, even though they're going to try to cut down the attendance as much as possible, which it will affect the promotion and the bands, but I'll state that in a minute. The fans will have to stay in their own 2-meter box, not contact anybody physically, don't touch them or whatever, because it will cause massive issues. If people like mental health like myself actually get touched and someone will be like, oh, this person might have something, and I'm going to freak out. So that's probably what the reason is. And you can't go in the pit, you can't stage dive, you can't crowd surf, you can't do any of that reckless shit to cause or gain much energy, you know?
That's the end of metal and punk right there, man. Like,
yeah,
you know, holy shit. That's a weird scenario to imagine, honestly. Like, anything punk, hardcore, metal, grind, anything we're used to or accustomed to, that's a huge leap.
Yeah.
Indifference, you know.
And
that's wild to think about. But
it is, mate. It is.
I'd rather wait and just have it be like what we're used to than, you know. I mean, I don't know. That's just me, though.
Yeah, no, I agree, though. I rather
do that, you know, to be safe.
I'd rather wait. And I know some people could be like, oh, well, you know, this band is going to come, you might as well just go to it. I'm like, no, because my health is important. And by the sounds of it, I'm still going to be absolutely hammering with work. So all the opportunities to go see the bands play this year, it's going to be out of the window because my work is likely to be contacting me. And my guess is they will contact me the end of this week to cover a shift or two because I'm on holiday. And it's going to be absolutely balls ache to actually be like, I can't do it because, you know, I'm on holiday. But if it actually gives me extra money, which it won't because it just basically removes my holidays. But it's whatever. But the point is, just coming from that topic is, I'd rather just wait, like you just said. And I'm sure many people will be wanting to be in the same position. They just want to wait. And it is very frustrating. But we have to do
people
the right thing.
You want to fucking, you know, put their arm around their buddy and get a beer and stuff. Like, yeah, that's a lot of the fun of it is being pals and stuff and hanging out and bumping elbows and shit. Like, you know, being right up in the front of the stage, you know. But if you don't have any of that, then fuck, you might as well be on YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Watching a live video.
Yeah, I think if there was a way to happen it, to make it work, is you're going to have to wear a glove and mask to actually go to shows, which it could be an idea, but I think it's more to do with the massive gatherings. It's going to be the question, because if you go to like a big venue show that is like, I don't know, a Metallica show that's 60,000 people, you're going to have to rely on. Exactly. That's the thing you just said. Good luck with it, because there are going to be people within those 60,000 people. Yeah. You know. Out of those 60,000 people, how many are actually going to stick to that procedure? Probably not many, you know. And that's the problem. And obviously that's going to cause a huge issue in the massive gathering. That's just bad enough as it is. And obviously just mentioned on the topic that it's going to affect the promotion and the bands and the label companies in some degree as well, and the business that holds the venue, that they need that money to continue.
It's not even worth it.
No, it isn't. It needs the money to continue with the business, the bands to continue, the promotion to make sure they do more shows, the label companies to say that's worth the tour package money, so we need to make sure we get some percentage out of it. You know, it all adds up, and that's the trickiest thing when it comes to like doing live shows anyway. Yeah, some promotions would take a loss sometimes. It's not like it's a huge deal, but if it happens so much often, if shows happen again and again and again during this pandemic issue, promotions are going to be wanting to never do shows again because they're going to be losing so much money.
I noticed around here, though, is you know, the restaurants just started opening back up, and even more recently than that, the barbershops started opening up.
Yeah.
And when the restaurants first started opening up, there were lines down the fucking street. Like, I mean, you couldn't even get into, you know, you go to Joe's Sloppy Joe Shack or whatever, and there's a fucking line down the road, you know. Like, it doesn't matter what the restaurant is. Like, there's such a high spike in demand that it's crazy. You can't go to your favorite restaurants for like weeks. It's like they just opened again. And now it's the same with the barber shops here. You can't get in for a fucking haircut for like 2 weeks. Like, so I mean, they're booming. So I imagine the same thing is going to happen with shows. You know, like shows are going to be, and especially for death metal, that's fucking good news. Like in underground bands, like that, you know, we're kind of suffering on the draw a bit towards the end there. It's going to fucking revive it, I think. And people are going to be more excited just to go and fucking do something. Oh, there's a show in my town. Shit, I'm going. Like, come on, let's go. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, even those underground shows are going to be more well attended, I think. That's just kind of the way I see it based on what I see now with all this other shit going on and reopening. Like, there's this Chinese restaurant I like to go to in this very, very tiny town by me. And they said there was like an hour wait just for them to start cooking your food. Like, it was so crazy. Like, so I didn't even bother. I had to wait like a week to go to that restaurant again.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Same with small town barbershops here. Like, I live in a real small town, and it's just madness here. I can't imagine what it's like in bigger cities right now. So I think when things get back, it's probably going to be crazy, I think.
Yeah, it is. So I live in a town centre that just about an hour and a half away from London. And obviously London is one of the most overwhelming places to go, especially to live right now. And that's where my ex-partner is living at the moment. And it's bad enough as it is. But where I'm living in town centre is my workplace is right in the centre of the town centre, along with many, many other shops. And there's a couple of barbers places that are not open at the moment. They'll be scheduled to open 4th of July, apparently. And what I've been told from a friend of mine who owns one of the businesses, he's going to be taking bookings up to 2-3 weeks advance, but he's not going to be able to do any general like walk-ins or anything like that because it's too dangerous. So that's bad enough as it is. Then the gyms, I canceled my gym membership because it was too risky anyway. You have to book yourself in to go to the gym the next day, and if you don't, you lose your spot. So it's kind of like a reserve, 1 in, 1 out type of thing. So that's bad enough as it is. And obviously with the shops, there's massive queues, and man, it's just so tedious. Like, it's so bad.
I haven't been to the gym in so long. Like, this work shit's been kicking my fucking ass, and I haven't even had time to go. So I don't even know what that's like. But I haven't heard anything about the gyms, honestly, recently. But yeah, man, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the gyms were supposed to be back open in July as well. And that's when they'll be able to say to people, look, you can take your bookings we can do the online bookings and we can make sure that's all operational. So there's an advance and everything, it's all good. But it's like certain procedures of reserve slots and how many people are allowed to go in, which apparently from the gym I just went to and now cancelled the membership, you only allow 10 people in there, including the staff. So that's like maybe 7 people in total are allowed to go in. But you have to book yourself in. You can't just walk in and just be able to get yourself in there.
Let's get the gym yourself, I guess. You know?
Yeah, it's just
your own space. Not like Gym January or something.
Oh man, I mean, I can't wait for the fact that the gyms are likely to be heaving next year if everything gets back to normal by January. It's just going to be madness. Like next year's just going to be madness all over, man. You know.
Yeah, I better steer clear of that in January.
Oh man,
I got a New Year's resolution, man.
Here's my resolution: stay away from the fucking gym until March.
200 people in the fucking gym at one time. Then they're gone in a week.
Yeah, no, that's completely true. Fuck. So we just obviously got a little bit carried away with that. I'm just trying to think what we need to discuss now, really. So obviously, as you has been a musician for many years, you know, you've been with a couple of bands, you've done live shows. What's been your favorite show that you've ever been to, ever since being like in a band, playing live?
Shit, man, that's a fucking heavy question. Holy shit. Dude, honestly though, like, I mean, I've been to a lot of cool shows and a lot of sick ass fests and shit. But man, that first Las Vegas Death Fest that Delusional played, it was like, that was literally our first show.
Was it?
And that fest was so fucking cool. That was Las Vegas 6.
Oh,
and
yeah, that one.
Man, that was fucking unreal for all of us, everybody in the band. And, you know, Mike was a cool motherfucker. Like, he fucking really helped us in a lot of ways on that, you know. Because we were nobody, you know, at the time. We fucking barely, we had a demo or some shit. Like,
yeah.
But it was a fucking great crowd response. We met so many cool fucking people. There were so many good bands at that fucking show. That was a good one. You know, not just playing, but attending. Like I said, I've been to a lot of shit, you know, but that's a really memorable one, I think, for all of us, even.
Yeah.
Not
sure.
just me.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Nah, it's fucking good. Have you got any wish lists? For example, like you want to come and play in like the UK or in Europe, or maybe go to Asia to actually do a show there. What would your your dream lineup would actually be if you had that opportunity?
Yeah, we've been wanting to come to Europe for a long time. We had a couple opportunities that slipped away, and like we had a really serious one to go to Asia. Actually, it was with Cephalotripsy. We were going to be opening for them, and Alex is doing a lot of. He was doing a lot of university stuff.
Sure.
He's I don't know if you know this, but he's on his way to being a judge.
Really?
In Germany. Yeah, he's doing serious stuff, and he has been ever since he's been in the band. He's been working on that, and he's real serious about it. So you know, we work around him. So that's why we don't get out a lot, is because we work around him, because we know how important that shit is. Like,
yeah, of course.
Got a serious career going, you know. And yeah, he's doing well. I think he's at the end of it now. But we couldn't do it because of that. So we just told them, you know, we're off the table. We're not going to get a replacement drummer or some stupid shit like that. Like, if you can't do it, we can't do it, you know.
No, that's cool.
Because, you know, the band's not the band without Alex, in my opinion.
No,
it's like, he brings too much to it. It would have been fun and cool, but that's still, like, I feel like it's still on our wish list. We were really excited for that, you know. I mean, pretty much anywhere that we haven't been, we would like to go.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So we've been to a lot of the U.S., you know, but anywhere we haven't been in the U.S. even, we'd like to go.
Is there a specific place in the US?
It would be states you don't really think about, like, or, you know, just anywhere that would have us, that would have a crowd that would be excited to see us. I think would be fucking cool. And obviously, new places like, you know, we haven't been to Europe or Asia or so many places we haven't been. Anywhere outside the U.S., honestly, like, would be really cool. Like, even Canada, like, I've been there because I'm a stone throw away from Canada.
Oh, okay.
But not to play a show, you know. Like, I feel like it'd be cool to play a show there.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. It's good. Okay, so pretty much it's going to be the end of the podcast almost, which is cool. I think we've pretty much covered much as we have to say, which is not a problem as well. But pretty much at the end of the podcast, I normally do a mention of shout-out supports for bands that need recognition, like label companies that we discussed about as well, that, you know, you're signed with or any other bands are being signed with. Clothing companies that work their ass off with the merchandise designs. There was another one it just slipped in my mind, and I'm getting too tired right now to think. Yeah, so if you've got any bands, James, you are more than welcome to mention it. And what I normally do is, when I upload the video or whatever, just before I upload it, I ask people, like, I'm going to ask you to leave the names of the list, and then I can put down the links down to the description, and then people can click through the way. So it makes it quite easy. So I still do the hard work, but it's just like a request for everybody that does the same thing. It just makes it a bit more easier, you know?
Yeah.
So you're more than welcome to have the platform and mention anything that you want to say at all, man.
Yeah, I just grabbed my phone because I wanted to see if I can pronounce this right, but like
Sure.
Nigerus. It's
yes.
it's the guitarist and drummer from EPICARDIECTOMY and Malika.
Yeah.
Oh man, that shit's fucking crazy. Like,
fucking
you gotta
raw.
check that out. I've been jamming the hell out of that.
It's really good.
Yeah. And Infibulated.
Yeah.
They have a sick ass demo. Max McMullen is the vocalist in that, and he fucking, holy shit, man! I've been encouraging him to do vocals for so long because he's a fucking killer, man. Like, that dude is awesome. And the new Molested Divinity is fucking sick.
Yeah.
New Defeated Sanity is sick.
Yes.
You know, New Standard Elite, anything is good on that label.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, anything that comes out of there is fucking insane.
Always.
I'm trying to think of some more, but it seems like, man, there's some fucking good ones right now. Like,
there's definitely a lot of more brutal death metal bands that are actually coming out from, like,
Insalubrity.
Yeah.
Oh man, those guys. I was on their new CD.
Really?
But those are some dudes from South America, and they're younger guys, and they're fucking, man, that vocalist did a Delusional Parasitosis vocal cover, and he fucking nailed it. Like, even before he posted it, he sent it to me, and he's like, and I'm like, dude, post that shit. Like, that is fucking accurate. Like, he did everything exactly how I did it.
Oh,
like,
mate.
That dude is sick. The whole band is fucking sick, and they're, man, I'm cheering those guys on. Like, I really like them. I don't know. I try to think about stuff like that, those bands. And I try to remember all of them because, man, I like to prop them up as quick as possible. Like, when I hear something sick like that, like, I can't shut up about it. But those are the most recent ones I can think of that I really am just going fucking nuts over, you know?
No, that's cool, man. That's really cool. A couple of bands I'd like to mention. It's Postmortal Procession. They had an album out, Catacombs of Bedlam, out not long ago. It's a really good album. Definitely recommend it if you're into, like, bro death metal as well. For anybody that's listening. There's another band called Carniflor that's just had an album out called INIQUITOUS in Gold. It's more of it's slammy. It's really good. Production sound is really good as well. you know, it's very interesting with the intro, what's it called, intro sound clips. So some of them are a bit random, but some of them are quite good as well. They have a little bit of like a little vibe into it before you actually get the heavy pounding bass drop into it as well. Splattered. I had a podcast session with Splattered yesterday, almost for 2 hours. Shout out to Travers and Andy, Josh, Andrew, Justin, all the boys in Splattered. Yeah, there isn't really much I can suggest. Bio-Noise Generation, they're really good. Extermination, Dismemberment are really good as well. Guttural, oh, fuck's sake. Guttural Sectary. I can't pronounce things very well anymore. Fucking hell. Yeah, they do really good albums, like Recopulsion, Disroyalment. That album's really fucking cool. I think that's my favorite album from that band by far. But I like to do shout for your bands as well, James. Delusional Parasites. That's literally the first album you guys done. That's my favorite album. Point on. That's the best album that I've heard from like a band that does like brutal death metal. Point period. Inflammable, Demise. I can't wait for the second album. The first one was really good. There are some, if I remember correctly, there's some few more bundles of stuff on Reality Fade Records. If anybody wants to get some stuff from there, they've got like a bundle of White Shirt and the album and the poster on there of the album artwork. So definitely recommend it if you definitely want to purchase it. Other than that, that's pretty much it for my recommendations. Definitely recommend like clothing materials like Flat Top, Lard, Brutal Minds, you know, for all the brutal death metal merchandise that you definitely want to get. It's really good quality as well. But yeah, I think
another I'm also an Amputated Genitals, which is new. They had 2 albums before that, but I just put out one with them. And the old vocalist of Amputated Genitals, Sebastian Warren, he's in a new band called The Caribbean. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but man, they're fucking sick. That's another one that's just stupid fucking sick. They just put up a new lyric video, I think. Oh, really? I think it was on Slam Worldwide, I think, or something.
Okay.
But yeah, they're fucking crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, it's thought of.
Oh, that's cool, man. I mean,
love that guy's vocals, man. So good.
So good, bro. So good. Ingested is one of them. Cerebral Engorgement. Cerebral Implication. Yeah, literally, I don't have much of a list. Apart from one more or 2 more, which is just Hymenoptomany, but they're fucking good. And Unflammable Ruination from the UK. I think that's the only band from the UK I've just done shout on. That's fucking surprising. I'm used to do a lot of band suggestions from the UK, but it's more from outside the UK I've done so recently now. Fucking hell. Most of it's like from the States and from like Europe. The fuck, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Well, technically, Ineffable Demise is a UK band because Tom's like the mastermind. He's from there.
Which is true. Which is true.
You got us, technically, you know.
Cat Orgy, that's another one now, so that's 2.
They're all from there except me.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be it. I'm going to have to say, first of all, thank you very much for you to come on here, James. It really means a lot. I know we have a chat here and there. We didn't really have a proper conversation when it comes on Messenger or whatever. I know I purchased some merch from you quite a while back, and you know that was the only time we probably had much of a conversation. We would try and keep an eye on each other here and there, like I do mostly with you or anybody in general, because everybody's like my brothers and sisters. You know, everyone means a lot to me, even you. So just to mention that. Yeah. But yeah, I really appreciate that you come on there, took the time, especially on Father's Day. And I know that, thank goodness, I'm on holiday, so it's about 12:30 in the morning. So that's fun. Very fun times indeed. Anything else I want to say? Yes, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that's listened to this. It really means a lot, especially we just had that technical difficulties earlier today on the session. And thank you for everyone that stayed in tune for watching the other sessions. The latest one on Splattered as well, it means a lot, but I've had a very good one that was from Extermination Dismemberment, and it's almost 200 views within 3 days. That's fucking mental. That's literally my biggest view count so far, almost. And that's crazy, considering that I've done this podcast for almost a month, and well, almost 2 months in fact, and that was the biggest one count so far. But it's all depends on like how things work with the mainstream media, and how there's a population with how many fan base you've got in certain countries that are willing to take the time to listen to it. Sometimes people have like daily lives, which I understand that. Sometimes people forget, and I completely understand that. And sometimes people are quite occupied, and I understand that as well. But no, thank you very much for everybody that's listened to it. It really means a lot. But yeah, thank you, James. It really means a lot for you to come on here and take the time. And you're more than welcome to say anything else before we finish this podcast, man.
Yep. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Absolutely. Other than that, thank you very much, everybody. This one's going to be uploaded in the next few hours. When I wake up in the morning, that's for sure, and have a coffee in my mind. Other than that, I'm going to announce my 3 new podcast sessions on the Monday morning, and then I've got a session on the Monday, and then back to normal. That everything will be back into normal by having a session on Monday, session on Thursday, and session on Saturday. Other than that, thank you very much, everyone. Please subscribe if you want to. If you don't, that's completely fine. I'm not going to criticize you for doing that. I'm not going to judge you for doing that either. If you want to either follow me on Facebook as well, you're more than welcome to do that. If you don't want to do that as well, not a problem. I'm not going to get pissed off about it by any means. It's your choice. Everybody's got a choice of what they want to do, what they want to listen. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. And thank you to James as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. No problem. So yeah, thank you, everyone. And stay tuned for the next episode on Monday. Peace out.